a bit.
Welcome to Beyond Table Talk, a space for real people and real conversations that move us from awareness to action. Each episode dives deep into the issues that impact our daily lives, financially, emotionally, and socially, with real talk from real people. We're so glad you've joined us, and we've got a powerful conversation ahead. Whether you're tuning in live or catching the replay, thank you for being a part of this community. Now let's get into it. Meet your moderator for this episode.
Hi, welcome to Beyond Table Talk, a signature conversation series powered by the Association for Black Economic Power. I'm Sharon Taylor, your moderator for this evening. I am the Director of Community Engagement in the Department of Commerce, as well as on special assignment with the Office of Equity, Opportunity, and Accessibility in the office with Governor Tim Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. I am honored today to guide tonight's important conversation around scam-proof your loved ones, protecting against fraud and elder abuse. Fraud doesn't always look like a scam. It can come as a friendly voice, a fake email link, or even a desperate plea for help. Scammers are becoming so sophisticated and are especially targeting our elders. Tonight, we're going to equip you with real strategies, tips, and tools to help prevent fraud, financial abuse in your family and community, whether it's you personally being affected or want to stay ahead of. Tonight, it's a conversation for you. I'm joined today by panel experts. I'll introduce them by name and then invite them to tell more about themselves. Boima Freeman, can you share a bit about your background and the work that you do?
Certainly. Thank you, Sharon. My name is Boima Freeman. I'm currently with the Minnesota Department of Commerce. I am a senior financial fraud investigator. And for the past 8 years, I was with one of the largest banks in the US as a fraud analyst. I spent a lot of time listening to phone calls. I was basically a professional eavesdropper, hearing what fraudsters do with your personal identifiable information and how they were trying to access your bank account information. And then for the previous 8 years, I was also a wire transfer investigator, investigating wires for the same financial institution. So I have over 16 years of banking, and I am now using my expertise at the Minnesota Department of Commerce to speak with victims that have been scammed and providing victims with information. We also work with APS as far as adult protective services, and then law enforcement as well. So it's a collaborative effect in order to make sure that Minnesotans are keeping their funds that they've worked so hard to earn in their pockets and not giving it away to someone who's calling on the phone pretending to be pretending to be someone or their loved ones taking advantage of them and or romance type scams. So we'll talk more about that, but that is a brief introduction as to who I am.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Honored to have you here. We're also joined by Clifton Robinson. Will you please tell us more about your expertise?
Definitely. My name is Clifton Robinson. I am a cybersecurity specialist. Some of my background includes working with local and federal governments protecting the enterprise. I've also done the same for some private companies in the private sector. I also provide consulting services for end users throughout the community if they need some assistance with setting up the network, securing their environment, and also educating and training their loved ones and their families on how to protect themselves.
Thank you, Clifton and Boima, for joining us tonight. Let's dive right into it and start with scams and frauds. What are some of the most common types of scams targeting us, and how can we recognize them? It seems like they're happening so often now. Boima, do you mind jumping in? Clifton, I think Boima is up mic on. Can you tell us more about the types of scams that are targeting us and how we can recognize them?
Yes, definitely. So, two of the common scams that I see that happen to just a normal civilian will be the smishing, which is SMS text, where you get a text from Easy Pass, USPS, and they're saying, hey, you got a package that hasn't been delivered, or your account is past due, uh, click this link and sign into your account, and then take care of it. And the other one is uh, phishing scams. Excuse me. That's where you're getting an email from some random company who is impersonating a company that you actually may use and saying that you have a past due notice. Click this link, and those links typically lead you to like malicious sites where they can steal your login information.
Wow. Yes, I've certainly got a few of those. It looks like we have a question from one of our viewers who's chimed in with us tonight. Can you,
What financial details should never be shared, no matter how convincing or urgent the request sounds?
Boyma, can you take this one? What financial details should never be shared? And let's take it a step further. When should you not share financial details?
You shouldn't share financial details at all. It's almost as if someone is coming to you on, if you're walking on the street and I approach you and say, how much do you have in your bank account currently? You're going to look at me as if it's none of your business and walk away, right? But over the phone, for some reason, we tend to provide that information. So I would say nothing at all. If your phone rings and someone is asking you those details, first of all, ask them a question as to who they're with. And when they're done with that, hang up the phone. And then you can contact the individual yourself. If it's your bank, contact the number from the back of the card. Do not trust the caller ID because they can also spoof that number. And I know that the previous question, sorry about the audio issue, stated as to the common type of scams and fraud. That is exactly one of them, whereas an imposter's calling, pretending to be from your financial institution, Medicare, Medicaid, even your church. We had a problem processing your tithes and offerings this, this week. The account number that you use, can you verify that? And then now you're providing that personal information, and you'll be surprised what you can get. All I need is the last four digits of your social security number. All I need is the last four digits of your bank account number. And I have your date of birth. I have your maybe mother's maiden name because that is private information and that's what banks use to verify. And I can contact any bank and someone is not going to be paying attention as far as their 24-hour banking, and I will be able to access your account. So I would go
Wow.
by the rule is it's need to know. Is you can don't be Minnesota nice. Just say none of your business and hang up.
Yeah, absolutely. That Minnesota nice want to be helpful, or it's kind of scary. I think you have a slide about this, Boyma. When you pop that up, may you speak to that for a moment?
Correct. So these are the top scams and frauds currently. We have the imposter scam, online shopping, and leaving negative reviews. They have your information as far as your email address on those websites as well. You get the text messages stating, hey, we have an important opportunity. I'm always getting those saying, you're an important candidate. We've seen you on certain job sites or LinkedIn, and you will be a perfect fit for this work from home, making $20,000 a week. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. And then investments as well. We're all trying to get our, dollars to grow, and they rely upon that by having the crypto scam is huge currently, and you get those text messages that come in for someone that's not even your name, and then you start to respond to those individuals. All of a sudden they can either go from a hybrid where it goes from becoming a romance scam to an investment scam. And then you also have internet service providers where you may get a pop-up on your computer stating that you have a virus, and now it's prompting you to contact the number. They want a remote access into your systems. Do not allow that to happen because you're basically opening your door and saying, hey, come on in. This is what I'm doing.
A lot of ways the scammers are trying to get access to your accounts. We have another question from our viewer. Uh,
Hey, I have a question. How can someone confidently spot the difference between a legit company and a scammer?
that's a great question. Clifton, maybe you can shed some insight on this. How can you tell the difference between this if it's a legit company? Because sometimes it seems pretty legit, or if it's a scammer.
Definitely, I'll definitely speak on that. As I stated previously, you really should not be clicking on any links within emails or text messages. If you can pull up the graphic, I want to kind of go through some of the text messaging scams that have been going out. So We have one from the DMV talking about your Easy Pass Lane account. It says click this link where you'll most likely copy or paste into your browser to make a payment. Companies are not going to send you links through your text messages for payment. If you ever see one of these and or have any questions, I will reach out to the company directly or go to the website, log into your account, and verify the validity of it.
So I've gotten that text too. I was like, I don't even have an easy account, but I can see how it would work for sure. This might be a perfect segue into protecting our elders when we talk about receiving text messages or browsers and links. Um, Clifton, what are your thoughts about that and protecting older generations from cyber perspectives? And
The best thing is just having that conversation with them about, if you have any questions or concerns with any account activity, or if you have any payments you need to make, to just go to their website or call the company directly. These email phishing scams have gotten really complex to the point where they look legitimately from the company. The only difference is that if you like hover over the link, it will be to a different web address, but that's not going to be something that the average person would know to do. So the best practice is to not click it. But if you can bring up the graphic of the phishing email scam, as you can see that sometimes there will be some typos and the email address wouldn't be exactly correct to what the company's domain would match. And a lot of times what they typically would do would try to like pressure you into like hurry and making a payment and kind of causing some panic in our elder generation. So one of the things I always teach is kind of calm yourself down, stop and think about it, and then go through the process that you normally would go through, because companies do not communicate in this manner.
Take a step, take a moment to calm down. That's important. It seems very legit, and people are scared in the moment. So I can see that. That's already a tip for the night. And I've learned something about hovering over it to see where that link takes you. Um, this might be, we have another viewer joining us with a question. Keep the questions coming, and we'll keep, or you can drop some questions into the chat to our viewers. So we have Peggy.
Can public information or what we post on social media really lead to identity theft?
Can public information or what we post on social media really lead to identity theft? That's a great question. A lot of us are consistently online and we're sharing moments, searching for the news, scrolling, participating in those fun reposts. How I've been told that some of those answers could lead to clues for your own password. Is that true? Isn't this identity? Is this identity theft or?
Sure, I'll speak on this. So one of the tactics that are used by threat actors is social engineering, where they'll use kind of information that's on your social media to try to garner information on what your password could be. But this is where, education and training comes in about having a good, strong password for any of your accounts, and also not using the same password for multiple accounts. Now, one thing I've always recommended is, because now these days, between social media, your email, your banks, any companies that you have an account open with, there's a lot of passwords to remember. A tool that's kind of out in the market right now is called password managers, where you only have to remember one password, but you can store all the passwords for all of your accounts within this tool. And you also have the option of sharing this with families. So if you for the older generation, if you had a child that you trusted that you wanted to kind of help manage that account, when you're ready to log in and receive your password, they can actually shoot you the password to log into the necessary account. So not necessarily wouldn't be something you have to worry about. But this tool is something that I actually use myself, because again, password complexity is really key these days. They need to be over 14 characters, because what that does is kind of makes it more difficult to compromise and guess what your password is. If you do not have one of these tools, a suggestion I would have is like a passphrase. What a passphrase is kind of like taking some common words that are unrelated to each other or unrelated to you, putting them together and using that as your password as long as it's more than 14 characters. So you can use something like fish, sky, marina, right? And that right there could be your password, and that actually has enough strength to prevent any threat actors from compromising your account and stealing your credentials.
Yep. And to add on to that, as far as the public information that you are posting on Facebook, if you're adding and tagging family members, I know Facebook used to have something where you can actually list your family members. Fraudsters can see that information and then contact you pretending to be that individual or stating their name in order to build something credible, saying that I do know you and I do know your family members. And then also posting information if you've maybe sold your house and they know that you have money coming in. That's something that's that's something that a romance scammer will look at in order to start to reach out to you. If someone passes away and you said thank god we had life insurance, they know that you've came into some money, so they will create a profile and then try to contact you in many ways or any ways whatsoever. So be leery of what you do post online.
Wow. Wow, that even the smallest little detail can be a trigger then, I hear, for scammers to be looking for. So that brings us to a question I have. What are some immediate actions should someone take? Should they have something like this happen to them? How can they secure their bank accounts if they've accidentally shared some sensitive financial information? I'm going to kick it off to both of you, but Boima, can you get us started? And Clifton, can you fill us in from that cyber perspective?
Certainly, it's what's been compromised. So if you're, let's say you set up a mobile alert on your cell phone, and then all of a sudden you have a negative 15 cents or negative 50 or positive 15 cents added onto your account. Someone, and you didn't initiate that to verify, someone has your account number or they have your check card number. The best thing to do is to contact your financial institution. If your bank contacts you and state that, hey, are you currently in Nigeria because your user ID and password is now being used, that means at some point someone has that information and you should change that immediately. Those should be suspended. The password should be changed as well, because nowadays your user ID and your password is basically you handing someone a blank check. They can use that to log in and create transfers. So if you think your account is compromised, a lot of people are worried saying, I have so many things that I have on auto pay. Now I have to contact all these individuals. I'd rather you take 3 hours in a day to contact those individuals than to always be worried that someone now has your account information and at what point are they going to access your account. So if you think your information is out there as far as social security numbers, reach out to your financial institution and also add a passcode or a password that they have to ask you when you do call in, because if you're just asking for social security number, date of birth, mother's maiden name, Frosters already have that information, because as I stated, I would listen to phone calls and it's maybe the same voice over IP number is calling on 30 to 40 individuals. And I start to notice a pattern that, maybe these individuals are born in 1956, and the only thing that is different is the month, sometimes, but it's a pattern. So you're seeing that they're purchasing this information online, they're going off a spreadsheet that they have. And sometimes the spreadsheet will be incorrect, where they've probably purchased a spreadsheet that the name and address is correct. However, the date of birth isn't. So they try to figure it out as to what's matching and where it's off, that where the data is off. So
That makes sense. And oftentimes your birthdays pop up or you get all of the invites. Clifton, I'm going to ask you that same question, but for our viewers who just entered, I want to make sure I restate the question for them. And the question is really, what immediate actions should someone take to secure their bank accounts if they've accidentally shared too much or shared some sensitive information about their financial information accidentally, maybe on their social media accounts?
Okay. And I would agree with what Boyma stated, which is changing your password, logging in, changing all of your user credentials. Another thing that most financial institutions offer right now is kind of two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. So You can either get a voice call verifying it's you. You can get a code sent to your phone or to your email account, and you enter the code into the browser. Or what can happen is they have a security question, something personal about you that only you should know, that you can use as a way of verifying yourself. So with any banking institution, you should have definitely have two-factor authentication set up and running.
Oh, that's I got an excellent question. Follow it up on that one. Thanks for bringing that up. And the question is, if I become a victim with the credit card company or bank, can they restore the stolen money? Do you know, is there a way that we could get that any kind of thing back, or how do we protect our family members? And if it is stolen, or do we have any repercussions for that?
Go
Um,
ahead.
Sounds like Boyma. You're getting ready to jump in.
I would contact the financial institution and find out how you're protected, because I know certain credit cards will state, if it's an issue due to theft, which it can be, you have grounds to stand on. And if your card is being used in Mexico and you are in Minnesota, you have a case, but it's case by case basis as well. And then you also have to keep in mind that if you're looking at your statements every month and not having it go 6 months, because 6 months down the line, if you go and you look and see, you're like, that charge wasn't mine. When you
Mm,
contact the financial institution, it's too late, because within their disclosure, they have disclosed to you that you have either 60 days or two statement periods, but it's all about the financial institution. So reach out to them. And if it's something where, if I'm giving you a call stating I'm from Amazon and you provide me with your credit card information, and then I intend to go to Best Buy and use that, you provided me with that information, so you're reliable for that at times. So it's all about the situation, it's all about the scenario, it's all about the relationship that you have with your branch as well. I would suggest that if you do go into your branches, have conversations with these individuals so that they get to know you. So if you do walk in one day and the froster is on the line saying take out $30,000, they know that it's out of character and they can speak with you about that. So it varies, but it's
mm,
always great to report scams and fraud and try to file a dispute, because you never know. You could
mhm,
just fall under an umbrella that is protected.
mm. Thanks for those kind of precursors, some tips along that way. Clifton, is there something you wanted to add?
Yes. In addition to that, a lot of these financial institutions, credit card companies, should offer you the ability to kind of set where your card should be used at. So anytime you're making a purchase, your geo IP location is kind of tracked within their system. So they should be able to tell that, like, if you live in Minnesota, but your car is being used in Indiana, to kind of freeze your card and contact you about, whether or not the charge is valid. And that's something you just have to speak with your institution about to verify if they offer that service. And if they do, definitely sign up for it.
Very cool. So I heard you both saying, Boyma, to your point, stay on top of it. Don't wait months at a time, but monthly checks on. And then Clifton also saying, get on top of it if you see a flag, and oftentimes you can get those alerts now on your cell phones or on your emails to say there was a charge in Indianapolis for some fishing equipment, and those kind of notifications, but to be alert to those and call the institutions, not click on the links. It's what
Correct.
he's just making sure I got it, because I need the help. You keep on saying older adults, I'm feeling some kind of way. So I'm because this is helpful information for me. So I'm gonna move us right along to how can people spot some of the red flags early? Like early in the game, those were really some great tips to say, all right, get your alert set up for your account, and make sure you call the number on the back of the card, not accept those. But are there some, for especially for older adults, where that might not be their thing to be so connected to their mobile device? Are there anything that, how can we, people spot red flags? It may be happening to them, or like you want to protect your family members from. I heard Boima talk about romance scams, and we can get into that later. But Clifton, what are your thoughts on that right now?
Some of the red flags are just the fact that if you're getting a text message instead of a phone call from your company, if there's an your institution, if there is an issue, it's probably something. Again, you should automatically have a red flag. Or again, if you have a family member you can trust, you can always reach out to them and ask, like, "Hey, I just got this weird text. Can you help me with it?" Typically, they come from some of the weirdest numbers that are not even in your area code. Other indicators is if they try to send you to a social media app like Telegram or WhatsApp to reach out and contact them. That's another thing they try to do, is because those apps are a little bit harder to detect the location of the where the threat is coming from. So the biggest thing is knowing that your financial institutions are not going to communicate with you through text or email. Always stick everything to phone calls and use the numbers that's provided to you on their website or in any brochure information that they're giving you or business cards. But calling them directly removes the ability for the man in the middle to kind of come between you two and act on the behalf of the institution. So,
Thank you for that. There's a couple of things I heard you saying too, but I asked Boyman to type to chat a little bit about the romance scams and what that means. And then Clifton, you just brought up an excellent point that's around like the spoofing. I think one of you mentioned that too. Yeah, to your point, use the number on your card, not the number that may pop up in your screen. Boyma, can you share more about those things as it relates to your expertise in commerce?
Well, certainly. What we start to notice as far as common, you know, red flags that are secrecy is one. If someone is telling you, keep this between you and I, don't tell your family members, um, I'm going to tell you exactly what to tell your bank to take out that $50,000 and tell them it's for home repair. Keep me on the phone as you do it so I can know what they're stating. And then anonymous communications, trust me, love bombing. If you've met someone within a week and they're already telling you that they love you and how much they cannot live without you, and once you start a relationship, they start to then ask if you can fund certain endeavors, whether it's an investment or whether it's helping them come to the country or whether it's paying for them to get out of the military because we're currently at war in Afghanistan and they need, and there's an army general that needs to, pay his way out of the military. Those are all red flags. And if it sounds too good to be true, it is. If someone is telling you that if you send them $5,000, they can get you $20,000, and then once you've sent the $5,000, they send you a beautiful graph as to how much your funds have made. All of a sudden, greed sets in, and then you start to send more funds. So that's something else. Isolation, where they're telling you not to trust your family members, especially with the romance scams. You have family members that are out there, trying to get to these individuals and saying this person is not in love with you. And what I would say is just stop sending them money. If you're sending $5,000 a week, someone is doing that. So I told her to just pause, tell the person that you've run out of funds and see what changes in their behavior and changes in their attitude because they're just after your money at this point. And then the celebrity ones are high right now as well, where you're getting individuals that are falling in love with, Kevin Costner or, Keanu Reeves. Whenever there's a popular TV show, those individuals, those fake individuals will pop up and try to, coerce, our elderly adults that, hey, you can come up to a meet and greet and fly out to LA, but you have to, give me some funds first. And if you Google these individuals' net worth and see how much they've made, they don't need your $5,000, So, and then having like Clifton stated, having that conversation with your family members. I always tell people, we talk about everything else. We talk about a good sale. We talk about television shows. We need to start treating fraud as if it is something that is happening because it is happening, and we don't have to be taboo about it. The great way to get a family member to open up is to tell them about your experience. I always say I almost got defrauded because I pulled up a number that was on Google. And when I contacted Ethiopian Airlines, there was no prompt saying, "Thank you for calling Ethiopian Airlines." There was no beautiful music, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, someone answered and I was about to give them my information. But because I paused And actually, I was broke. Um, I didn't give them the $750 that they were requesting. I'm like, you know what? Let me call back. And then when I actually went to my email and called the number at the Air Ethiopia, there was a beautiful music that popped up and said, "Thank you for calling Air Ethiopia." Blah blah blah, yada yada yada. So then I knew that I had contacted an incorrect number, and here I am, so-called expert, and I was so easy to fall for this. So we need to also show compassion. If someone comes up to you and say, "Hey, I've been defrauded," the first thing that we want to do is laugh. Second thing we want to do is, "How could you be so crazy?" or "How could you be so
Mhm.
stupid?" But we need to show empathy.
Emma, we lost your audio. Let's see if he pops back on for a second. Little technical difficulty, but I think for the most part, we could grasp that not being judgmental and having those conversations, being within families that create an environment that we won't laugh at you or we won't say, "How could you be so silly?" When really we were talking about older adults, but in actuality, it could happen to anyone, especially when you're tired or when you're doing something quickly or in the middle of things and you get an alert that's alarming. So, Boyma, are you back? Here's your
Yes, I
audio.
am.
Okay, we missed just the tail end of that.
I was just stating to have more compassion and to be more sensitive of the situation. Don't judge, like you stated, because just open up with, "I've fallen for this. Call me at any time. We can have a conversation." And I would suggest, if your family member is in a home, give them a call maybe on Sundays, have a conversation, maybe call them every day, because the moment that you don't give them a call, it leaves a window where I have a gentleman currently who's calling me every day and saying, "Boyma, you called me and you left a message." I'm like, "Yes, sir. We spoke yesterday and we had the same conversation." But now I'm starting to notice that there may be some cognitive decline. So I'm rehaving the conversation with this individual and not judging and not being upset that he's contacting me every day, but that window that I'm speaking with him is the window that is close to a fraudster reaching out to him. So the compassion
Absolutely.
is key.
Compassion is key. That's important. Thank you for that. Um, Wow, some amazing tips in that. And I really love with your conversation around changing the culture. What can you talk about in families and communities without it feeling like you're being judgmental? But our goal here is safety around it, right? Because it can happen to just about anyone. Are there free or affordable tools to block like scams, those calls that continuously come in, or suspicious emails? I know if they're landlines, they get bombarded by. So, are there some free or affordable tools to block scam calls? Clifton, you want to jump in on that one?
Yes, definitely. So you can always go to the Do Not Call Registry website and put your number in. Gmail, Outlook, and Yahoo kind of offer good spam filters for free. As far as like affordable ones, there's not a lot in the market unless you're doing open source, which is a whole more technical conversation. And I wouldn't recommend the average user to go that route. But right now, there are like the Do Not Call Registry, and there are some filters in place with emails, with most of the email companies that we have signed up for. Um, and the best thing is just kind of, again, the awareness, the conversations, kind of keeping people up to date on kind of the threats that are out there and how to navigate them, and just be aware of what to and what not to do. Anytime you are asked for your banking information or to make a payment, or you need to do this urgently, at that point, just stop and think, and then take a moment, and then kind of proceed with contacting the company directly always.
Wonderful. While we're on that topic, are there times of the year where we see kind of an increase in scams? Should we be alerted to that?
I would say so. If you're looking at Thanksgiving time frame, you're probably getting more online scams or phishing emails saying that there's a sale. Amazon, we have a refund. Most of the time they're asking for payment, but at times they're asking, "Hey, you have a refund that is being processed, and we need your information in order to process that information back on the card. Did you use the card ending in 5476?" Then you're like, "No, this is the last 4 digits of the card that I use, and they now have that information. Around Valentine's Day, you have romance scams. Summertime, you have maybe scams that are going to pop up saying, would you like to take a vacation when the kids are out of school? And so you have to be leery. I just look at it as such. Nowadays, I don't even trust myself. So that's how it should be. If someone is contacting you out of the blue, every fraud starts. I look at fraud as a tree, and at the bottom of that tree, the root of the problem is an anonymous communication. Someone that you don't know is reaching out to you, and that's how it begins. So no matter where it ends up, whether it's romance, whether it's an investment scam, whether it's a tech support scam, it always begins with that caller that is coming out of nowhere. So in order to be safe about it, don't answer. I have individuals now that I'm calling that are victim of scams. When I give them a call, I leave a message and then they call me back. Well, how do I know you're with Commerce? And I love to hear that because I know that they're now thinking.
They're asking you to prove it. We have a question that's on Facebook. How safe is Cash App? That's a wonderful question. And please answer for me too. How safe is Cash App? And if we think about it, and then maybe some of the others, Venmo or such and such, that'll say, here's your statement for the month. But how safe is it?
How safe any financial application you use is as safe as the company's security policies that they follow. If you've paid attention to the news in the last couple of years, I'm sure you heard about what happened with AT&T, a few of the healthcare companies, some other companies in the private sector, the CrowdStrike incident over last summer. So the truth of the matter is that they should have good security practices. I'm not going to say if they're safe to use or not, because I don't want to put you in a position and Cash App doesn't follow their own security policies, and then they compromise you and your private information. So I would say use at your own risk, but there are other alternatives. If I recall, a lot of banking institutions have Zelle kind of already integrated into their system. So if you do it that way, they might be the safest way than going through a third-party app or software. The nice thing about iPhones is that they kind of do a vendor assessment before they allow third-party apps into their store. If you're using an Android, those applications are not always verified, and there's no one really kind of making sure that they are protecting your information and practicing good security kind of strength within their organization. So if you use it and you haven't had any issues, more power to you. But me personally, I do not use any payment apps at all.
Okay, spoken from the cyber security expert. He does not use payment apps.
And I would say stay within the banking system, because if you are logging into Cash App, you have to put in your financial information as far as maybe your check card number so that you can transfer from your bank in order to then a third party. So if that third party goes through an issue where there's a data breach, then your information is on their site as well. So as Clifton stated, the Zelle payments, or certain banks are now creating their own form of payment transfer systems where they're relying upon that. So Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, those are all out of the banking system. And that's what we do when we do our presentations. It's just tell individuals, if you stay within the banking system, you'll be okay.
And a little safer that way. I have another question that I'm getting through. For those people who travel, could they be exposing themselves to online or even home invasions? I mean, if they're talking about their travels online, again, I guess they're kind of along the lines of the social media. And what's the exposure, or what's the safest way to be about that?
I'll start off with this. There's two aspects to this. When you're traveling, kind of how to protect yourself, how to safeguard yourself while you're, not within the U.S. But as far as posting kind of pictures or videos from your vacation or when you're just taking a trip, one thing that has been recommended is to always post those after you get back. You can take them in real time, but then you can come back and share them. But if you share them in real time, you are kind of giving people within your circle, and depending on what kind of privacy settings you have set up on your social media accounts, but those kind of, lateral to them, friends of friends could see this information. So one thing is to always kind of just post all your travel pictures and videos after the fact. Another thing I'll touch on real quick, even though that's something separate to what we're speaking on tonight, is kind of how to protect yourself when traveling. So if you're going to
Yeah.
travel, you probably should invest in a VPN. And what that does is that protects you, protects your kind of your internet activity and connection while you're traveling abroad. You can actually use it as home as well. I have a VPN always running within my home network. And the other thing is not charging your phone in a USB outlet. That's not one that you brought with you, because in those little small charging port cubes that are no bigger than this, there's the ability to actually siphon the data off of your cell phone or tablet or laptop, and kind of use it against you. So if you're going to charge any of your electronic devices when abroad, always use only your charging cables and ports directly into an outlet, never into a USB port at all, or a USB-C port.
You're talking about the ones that are at the airports or at the, however you're traveling, maybe by bus or train, or those that are public ports, to not put your phone on those, but purchase one of the other ones that you charge at home, and battery pack kind of thing, to use that as a safety precaution.
Yes, and
Okay.
also connecting to public Wi-Fi as well. I forgot to mention that. That's not something you should do when traveling abroad, which is, what the VPN service will protect you from as well.
And remember to turn off the automatic connection to the Wi-Fi's, because if your phone is automatically connecting or your devices, then you don't have any control as to what is, connecting to, and those individuals can, the man in the middle.
Yeah, good point. To go ahead in your settings and make sure you just disconnect that auto join.
Correct.
Okay. We have one more question from our YouTube live. What apps would you recommend to detect spam calls or phishing emails? Are there some apps out there that we can? Thank you, Tamika, for that question. Are there some apps we can use you would recommend, that we know you don't sponsor anything, but are there something that you may personally use or know of that we can help detect what are those spam calls or
So
phishing emails?
again, so like a lot of the email service providers right now kind of have their own spam filter set in place, where it does a pretty good job for a free service. Some of the more high-end ones that really kind of go through and do a lot of the filtering and testing in a sandbox and such, those are kind of a little bit pricey, as far as any of the voice calls. Just the national do not call registry is the best bet right now. The best thing is for individuals to know that if you don't know that number, it's okay to kind of just ignore it, and that's fine, because you should know who's reaching out to you, whether through text, through email, or through a voice call. So
Awesome.
And what I
Well,
used to get, at the bank is, the person called me from 612, so I figured it was Minnesota. But those are voice over IP numbers. I can create several numbers off the bat. And that's why when you block those particular numbers, you receive a text message or the same call the next day, because they're just generating those phone numbers. They're not going into a store and saying, hey, Verizon, can you provide me with these numbers? So it costs them nothing to do. So they just generate those phone numbers. And chances are it's just robocalls until someone picks up, and then they initiate the conversation. So the best tool that is out there and the most expensive tool is yourself. Don't answer. That call is not important. They can leave a message, whoever it is, and you can contact them right back. It doesn't take a second for someone. And then phones have it now where, as they're leaving the message, you can basically answer the call. So if it's someone that pick up the phone.
yeah. Okay. So a couple things. One, leave room on your voicemail. I've called people and my voicemail is full. But leave room so you can see if they're leaving a voicemail. And then I know with some of the newer updates, while they're leaving a voicemail, it'll show you the digital voice or whatever they're saying, and you can pick up the call.
Correct.
So
And if you get an update, please update your devices because the company realized that there's some protection that they've added security, and some people don't like to do updates because it changes their interface. They're like, oh, I have to learn something new. Please update hardware, software, as long as this is coming directly from the company itself and not an email saying click on this update.
Yeah, I would definitely concur that. A lot of times, there are some new features offered through your cell phones, your tablets, or even on your PCs or desktops. Um, a lot of those updates are to patch security vulnerabilities. They might not exactly state it within the update dialogue, but definitely keep your phones and any electronic devices updated.
I will. Thank you. Yeah, they do change the interface, and then sometimes it takes a little learning curve to get back to what happened with my such and such, and how come this isn't doing what it used to do.
Right.
So, all right, that is good advice, which leads me to some practical steps. Like as we begin to close out this evening's conversation around scams and fraud and protecting yourself, I'd like each of you to share like one practical action for our viewers that they can take today and protect themselves. And as we think about, as we're referring to our loved ones or older folks and family, what are some of those things that maybe they could do for them too to prevent frauds and scams? You're both on the edge of your seat. Which one wants to go first?
Clifton can go first.
All
Okay.
right. Can you bring up my graphic, please? All right. So these were some tips that I kind of put together on things that any user, especially our older community, can use to kind of protect themselves at home. So we talked about phishing emails. Those are the email scams where you're getting links that kind of lead to malicious actors' websites where they can steal your credentials. The same with smishing, which is through text messages on your phone. Boima spoke about phishing earlier. Those are the voice robocalls where they're just trying to get a hold of you and get some information out of you. And another note with that is that there are times when you are speaking with your institution and they want to verify your identity. You're not required to always provide your social. There should be other identifiers they can use for you to access your account. So you're never really speaking, your social security number over the phone. So another thing is to verify that the call is coming from the company by contacting the company directly. Ignore any request for payment immediately. Don't click on any untrusted links. These are some things you can do in your day-to-day practices. Securing your home network. That's where someone with a little bit more training and skill can assist you with that matter, which would be something like having a stronger password on your Wi-Fi network, and also making sure your antivirus is updated, which can assist with some of those malicious software from installing on your computer. Again, when all this is happening, just stop and think, take a moment and ask questions to a loved family member or reach out to the company directly. Boyman brought up earlier, keeping your software up to date. We spoke about the social media fraud where you have personal information out there that could be tied to your password. Best thing to do is to update your password, make it complex. A password manager can assist with that, which I also spoke about earlier. There are free ones like Bitwarden and First Password, excuse me. And those offer free services. But if you want to add other individuals to the plan, that's when you would have to pay for the services. We did not speak on this, but I do want to touch on this, the QR code scams. So a lot of restaurants, I will say in the last couple of years, have gotten used to, instead of bringing you a menu, they will have a QR code taped on the table, or they will just kind of give you one that you can scan and then access their menu. Me personally, I always ask for a physical menu because a QR code, you cannot look at it and know what website you're going to. And so it's easy for an individual to take another QR code and tape it over or leave it on your table, and you're just kind of not really paying attention to what's going on, and you scan it, and now your mobile device has been compromised. So, and the last thing I wanted to touch on is multi-factor authentication, or two-factor authentication, where you receive a text with a code, or you get a code through your email, or you get a voice call from the company giving you the code to kind of verify that that is you who's trying to log into the account. Earlier, I did speak on VPN. I just want to touch base on a little bit of what that is. So a VPN is a virtual private network, and what that allows you to do is it's kind of a safe passage and a cover passage. So whatever IP address you're using to go to whatever website that you're visiting, that information is protected, and what you're viewing is also kind of protected. So no one can use that as using a weak network protocols to steal your credentials.
It's awesome stuff. And boy, I'm gonna give you a couple minutes too, just to share what are some very practical action steps. Clifton, you got me with that QR code at restaurants. I did not take that into considerations, but thank you for that tip. I'm gonna walk away with that one for sure. Boyma, what about you? What are close out with us?
Wonderful job, Clifton. That was great. Appreciate it. Yeah, I took down some notes myself. I wouldn't go that in depth with mine. I would just say, don't answer your phone ever. No, but be careful as to if you do answer your phone, who you're speaking with. Make sure you verify who you're communicating with, and even after you verify, don't trust that individual. Before it was trusted and verified. Now it's verify and then trust. Even if you go to a website and you pull up that website information with AI, now individuals are creating these fake websites. It looks real, it looks legit, but it isn't. So be careful. And then if you're Googling something, never go off the first information that pops up. Scroll down. If it says sponsored, leave it alone. Safely store or shred all your sensitive documents. Start a barn fire outside if you need to. No, don't do that. However, invest in a shredder. Maybe you can take it to your bank. They can shred things for you as well. Ask for one for Christmas. And never trust phone numbers that pop up on your phone or links, because like I said, individuals can spoof phone numbers these days. Never answer the phone if you do not recognize the number. Never wire money, give cash. If someone is telling you to pay with a gift card, know that it's a scam, because gift cards have the appropriate name, gift card. You don't need to take a picture of the gift card and send it to someone. You don't need to scratch off the gift card and send it in an email. And never send personal information via email or phone. Your bank will never text you and saying, can you verify this? They will never send you an email stating, can you verify this? And talk to individuals daily. If you receive a phone call and say, I got a weird call the other day, this gentleman was talking to me about this or about that, make sure you pass that information along to your friend. And like I said, don't treat scams and fraud as if it is taboo. Do not be afraid to speak with individuals about it. You can contact ARP. You don't have to be a member of ARP. There is a fraud watch group, and individuals are coming together and are having discussions about scams and fraud. And I know it sounds crazy or it sounds bad, but don't trust anyone. Technology, with the elderly adults, they didn't grow up with cell phones. So they grew up with individuals coming to them and saying, I'm this person, and they're believing that. And fraudsters are getting brazen now because there's a crypto law that if you've recently opened a cryptocurrency account and you've donated. That's almost what it seems like. Fraud is basically a donation these days. And you've provided money in the crypto kiosk. If it's a new account and it's up to 14 days, you can get your funds back. However, fraudsters are now going around that because I knew it would happen. They're telling individuals to go to Iowa or Wisconsin where they don't have those laws, or they will send you a QR code in order for you to scan at the machine, and that account has already been created. So when you put those funds in there, your funds are gone. And individuals will say, but my funds are FDIC insured. Yes, it is to a certain extent. But if you're the one that is perpetuating the scam or fraud, and you're the one that is going to the bank and you're telling that lie in order to get that money, you're out of those funds. And we've seen individuals lose anywhere from maybe $400 to $4 million.
Wow.
It's staggering. So protect yourselves, because who used to say only you can prevent forest fire? I need to come up with an animal that says only you can prevent fraud.
Well,
So, Sharon, we need to work on that. But yeah, that's what I would take away.
you did say something, verify first, or what was the
Verify
phrase
before you trust.
verify before you trust.
Correct. So I'm
Okay.
calling you stating I'm a senior financial investigator with Morgan Stanley, and I have a deal for you. If you deposit $500 today, you can make, we have an investment in a gold mine in Africa somewhere or something like that. Like,
Yes.
it's okay. Let me call someone, contact me at Commerce. I'll do the work for you and say
Yeah.
that person is not, who they say they are.
We'll have some contact information at the end here. I have one other question that I'm very curious about, and either one of you help me with this one that's come through. It's about home devices. So we have all these smart assistants, is what they call them, like our Siris, our Hello Google, and Alexa, all of those things. And I better stop calling names because a few might answer me around here. Right. Does that open us up for the opportunity? Are we at more risk? And I know we're trying to close it up, but does that give us some of that, especially our cyber risk? Or what do we know about those devices?
The short answer is yes, because a lot of these devices are not secured like your PC, your laptop, your desktop, your cell phone, tablet. Like those actually have software within them that can be used to protect you from anyone compromising your environment. Some of these smart fridges, they do not have the proper protection setup. So if your IoT device, that's what we call them, fridges, the Amazon Echo things, are connected to
Mhm.
your network, they can use that weak, let's just use like kind of like security wall, right? Just for this conversation, they can use that to actually access your network and then get into all the other devices that are connected to it, or any device that has been connected to it. So one thing that I did want to speak on that Boima had brought up earlier was about anytime you get a new device to update the password on it immediately. Don't use the device that came with the password that came with the device that you took out of the box, because a lot of those passwords have been put out there on the internet. And what AI is able to do now is that someone can use this tool to kind of go through known common passwords on devices within a certain network, and then they can compromise it that way.
Or like some of those default already sets up baby monitors, for instance, come that way, or some of your home securities have a default that you should change immediately. Oh, that was another great, awesome tip. I'm gonna definitely write it down. Boima, we have a couple of minutes here before we go. I have been writing notes myself here, and definitely have your contact information. Do not ignore my call. It is pressing. But we've covered a lot of ground here tonight, from scams and identity theft to protecting our elders and building financial security. Thank you both for being incredible panelists, or hosts, and the wisdom that you've shared with us tonight around it. Both Clifton Rich Robinson and Boima Freeman. Again, we want to thank you from the Association for Black Economic Power for bringing those critical conversations forward. And thank you to all of our viewers who have joined us tonight. Please take a moment to complete the post episode wrap up survey. The link will be on the screen shortly. And I also want you, we do value your feedback. We want to hear from you. But I also want to invite you to come back. We have a series of events that'll be happening often. And so please check that out. And again, thank you both so much for your conversation here tonight. Please take the survey, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you for joining us for this impactful episode of Beyond Table Talk. To our loyal viewers, thank you for watching, engaging, and continuing the conversation beyond the screen. Your presence here matters. We are deeply grateful to our guest moderator and distinguished panelists for sharing their time, perspectives, and expertise. Your voice drives this platform forward. Please take a moment to view our moderator and panelists' bios and information. We extend our sincere appreciation to our ongoing supporters. Your commitment to dialogue, equity, and innovation allows us to host vital conversation like today's. This show is possible because of your investment in real stories and real solutions. There are many ways to engage beyond the broadcast. Explore past episodes, RSVP for upcoming conversations, sign up for our newsletter, follow us on social media to stay in the loop. If you or your organization would like to sponsor an episode, support our work, scan below. Let's go beyond Table Talk. If you'd like to continue to support our mission, consider making a donation or volunteering, or even subscribing to our newsletter to stay involved. We offer a heartfelt thank you to the production crew, creative team, and coordinators and volunteers who bring Beyond Table Talk to life. Your dedication and excellence are evident in every episode. Please take a moment to share your opinions with us in our post-episode wrap-up. Scan the code. Keep the momentum going, and remember, the most meaningful conversations don't just happen at the table, they live beyond it. We'll see you next time on Beyond Table Talk.